going around the clubs, and then cannabis was becoming commonplace, and there was the demand by people to use it, you know, for social recreation.
As demand increased, so did the opportunities for criminals with money to invest.
Late 60s, someone said, listen, if you buy me a pound, a weight, what they call a weight in those days, which was 1 pound weight, he said, I can give you a good return. And in those days, a pound weight of Lebanese cannabis resin was around about 100 and something pounds. So what's the return? He said, well, I'll give you 400 pounds. And I saw there was money to be made in that.
Michael Showers was helping forge the modern drugs market. Yet in the late 60s, the big criminal money remained in robbery. Throughout the decade, Liverpool crooks had been looking for new ways to steal. And in August '69, they unveiled their latest secret weapon.
It was just such an eye-opener to actually hear and see what they'd had the audacity to do.
Over the August bank holiday, a gang of thieves broke into the district bank on Water Street using a duplicate key. Charlie Seeger says he knew the villains involved, who found getting in was the easy bit.
The banks had no alarms. Windows were open in banks. They solely relied on the vaults. That was the main security, the vaults of the bank.
The banks assumed their vaults were impenetrable, but they hadn't bargained on the latest bit of robber's kit, a thermic lance.
They were the best things what could ever be invented for a robber. You know, you could burn through metal what was unheard of before. What's better to go in a place of a weekend, just relax, chill out, maybe have a flask with you, have a cup of tea and all that, and just burn away at the safe, at the vault.
It was the first real experience we'd had of dealing with criminals who had a lot of sophistication, and then to use the ventilation system within the bank to take away the toxic fumes from the thermic lances. None of us had seen anything like that.
Over the weekend, the team plundered the vault of the district bank.
And they just come out after they'd done the work and mingled in with the crowds the next day, and out they went. It's as simple as that.
The gang's hoard was worth 160 grand, over £2 million in today's money. It seemed the perfect bank robbery.
A lot of these firms were great at doing these jobs. It's the aftermath where somebody silly in the firm can make a terrible mistake.
That someone was Tommy Tacker Comerford.
He was sort of like on the fringes of everything. Any firm, he'd sort of sniff his way in.
Comerford's mistake was to give a cigarette case he'd stolen from the bank to his favourite barrister. Several weeks later, that lawyer attended a function in one of Liverpool's grandest buildings, St George's Hall.
He pulls out this cigarette case, and a sharp-eyed busy who was on the case of the bank spotted it. Hello, he said, whereabout did you acquire that from? Oh, a client of mine gave it to me. Well, that was it.
The Water Street bank job propelled Comerford to criminal stardom. It was fame he would later use to become Britain's first drugs baron. As Comerford began a 10-year sentence, another drugs pioneer was also doing jail time. Michael Showers. By 1970, Showers was an armed robber with a growing sideline in cannabis dealing. He was also an increasingly big figure in Toxteth and prepared to use violence to maintain that reputation.
To me, violence is a tool to be used sparingly and if necessary.
In April 1970, Michael Showers unleashed that tool on a man at a now demolished Toxteth club.
It was the Somali Social Club, which is on Upper Parliament Street. Now, his uncle owned the club. He was a small guy who had something of a Napoleon complex, but he carried a gun and brandished it on a regular basis to people. And he did it to the wrong person. The person went away and took a shotgun and blasted him in the legs.
Showers still denies pulling the trigger.
I didn't actually shoot anybody. I was present. I was present. There's no two ways about it. I was present.
The jury didn't believe him. Showers was convicted at Liverpool Crown Court of wounding with intent and sentenced to 7 years. The rise of this future godfather of Toxteth was temporarily stalled. By the early 70s, Liverpool's Beatle-inspired spell in the limelight had passed. The city was in the midst of its long decline. The population was plummeting, and many of its docks were being abandoned. Paul Grimes grew up in a family reliant on those docks.
The docks went from as far as you could see down there, right the way to that new building, a funny shaped building there, right up to the windmills up there. That's how big the docks was, and it was fantastic at the time.
But Grimes and his family weren't dockers, they were dock thieves. Dock theft had a long history in Liverpool. In many ways it was the city's signature crime, and it was a world away from cutting-edge bank jobs.
In the 60s and 70s, we were getting a lot of problem with cigarettes going, with whiskey going, and those are the type of crimes, but you didn't really need an awful lot of skill for those.
Robbing from the docks was all about who you knew.
We used to have people on the docks that used to give us the wine, and they had loads of like ciggies and whiskey, gin, and all the spirits that you could get rid of. But it's just knowing the right people that you could grease their hand with a few quid and get away with it.
But by the 70s, the dock thieves' days were numbered. Less and less cargo was manhandled off ships as containers became the norm. It was now harder for thieves to get their hands on goods, so they adapted.
When it all started getting tight on there, you had to start looking around for warehouses and out of town and all that of it to make more money.
Paul Grimes joined a team known as the Hole in the Wall Gang in honour of their trademark method.
I like the excitement of knocking holes in walls and all that. Sitting there with a hammer and chisel, just tapping away until you get the bricks out, and the first couple of bricks out, and then you can get the rest out dead easy then. It's all between 60 and 70 grand every time you did something, which was quite handy money. Actually, so you didn't have to work for a while.
These warehouse raids spelt the end of dock theft in Liverpool. In the future, the city would have a new and sinister signature crime: drug trafficking. In 1974, Michael Showers emerged from prison. He saw that demand for cannabis was still growing and set about transforming its supply. Showers made the pioneering decision to buy his cannabis direct from Africa.